I'm very excited to introduce our speaker for this session. Josh Patrick is a serial entrepreneur. He started his first real business when he was 23 years old. He grew it to 90 employees, and then he sold it 20 years later. That probably sounds pretty familiar for you as you work with your clients. Many of them are also business owners and entrepreneurs, and perhaps have sold businesses or getting ready to sell their own businesses. Mr. Patrick founded Stage 2 Planning Partners, a financial planning firm, and The Sustainable Business, which focuses on helping successful private business owners create an economically and personally sustainable business. He's been a contributor to the You're the Boss blog at the New York Times and has written for Forbes, Inc.com, Huffington Post, and Open by American Express. He's the author of Sustainable, a fable about creating a personally and economically sustainable business, and The Sale-Ready Company, what it takes to create a business that someone else would want to own, even if you have no intention of selling. That book is available for us. We've purchased a number of copies, so if you haven't picked up that copy of that book yet, please do so at the reception area. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce Mr. Josh Patrick. Please give him a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much. So, we're going to talk about what I call the private business owner's guide to a sale-ready company. But before I get into the meat of the conversation today, I want to tell you a little bit about my own personal journey that I went on. As was mentioned, I started my first business when I was 23 years old. Well, I didn't actually start my first business. When I was 23, I graduated from college. I looked around and said, gee, what do I want to do? And we had a family business, and the path of least resistance was the family business. Now, how many folks have seen a rising generation join the family business because it was the easiest thing to do? That was me. Except for one major problem. My father and I were like oil and water. We had fights like you could not believe. So after I was with him for about 3 months, he sent me up to a location 2 hours away from Glens Falls, New York, Plattsburgh, New York, which was a very small town. We had one account up there. We were in the food service and vending business. We fed people, worked in factories. So he sent me up there and said, look, I don't want to go to Plattsburgh anymore. You go up there and close it down. And because I'm so compliant, I went up there and got 5 new accounts. So he said to me, he said, you know, I don't want to drive to Plattsburgh anymore. You're going to buy it from me. So he sold me a business that was doing $75,000 a year. I had one part-time employee, and I went up there. And I went up there and I moved to Plattsburgh, got up at 4 in the morning to go in, fill the vending machines at the paper mill where this was. Then something really good happened. Our biggest competitor went bankrupt and we had a chance to buy their assets. So overnight, I went from having a half-time employee to 20 employees, and I was the enfant terrible as a business person. I screamed at somebody every single day because nothing was ever my fault. It was always your fault, or I was justifying why things went wrong when it really was my fault, and I wasn't very good at looking in the mirror. Now, along the way, for the first 2 years I was in Plattsburgh and running my own company, the worst thing that could ever possibly happen to a young person in business happened to me. I was really, really successful. Now that success was good for a couple of years while it went on. Banks loved me, were loaning me lots of money. I thought we were making a lot of money because my profit and loss statement said we were making a lot of money. Except for one thing. When you take your business from $75,000 a year to $2 million a year over a 2-year period, it's pretty expensive. Because in the vending business, I had to buy inventory. We had to hire people. I was spending $1 million a year on new equipment. And if you know how to read a profit and loss statement, you'll know that none of that stuff shows up on your P&L. So here I was, happily running along, doing my business, thinking I was God's gift to the vending world. I wasn't, but I thought I was. And the phone rang. The supplier calls me up and says, hey, when are you guys going to pay us? And what do you mean? Well, you're 90 days overdue. Then the phone rang again. Same conversation. Phone rang again. Same conversation, except that when I tried to go to the bank and borrow more money to pay my suppliers, guess what they said? They said no. So that started me, and on top of that, which I didn't realize because my CPAs never bothered to tell me that we were having this terrible year where we were going to lose a ton of money because my statement had not gone through review yet. Dumbest thing in the world. Well, as it turns out, not only was I running out of money because I was growing too fast, I also ran out of money because I had a $200,000 embezzlement. And in 1979, $200,000 was a lot of money. In 2021, $200,000 is a lot of money. But it was really a lot of money back then. So I went on and made mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. And when you yell at somebody every day, or people are afraid they're going to be yelled at every day, what do? They hide the problems. Or they try to sabotage you, which both happened to me, by the way. I deserved it, every bit of it. And then in 1984, I didn't go to one of these New Age seminars because a friend of mine said, you need this. And of course, I'm kind of curious. I like to do weird things. So I went to the seminar, and after 3 days of going through, staying up all night and doing breathing exercises and all the stuff you did at New Age seminars, I walked away saying, maybe I should look in the mirror. Maybe I should start taking responsibility for what happens in my life. Maybe I should stop blaming and justifying how things went away. So I learned along the way, and I made 8 gazillion mistakes while I was doing this. Now, what's this got to do with talking about creating a sale-ready company? Because I was curious and because I did that transformation, I started doing a lot of reading. I've always read a lot, but then I started reading a lot of business books in 1980. I actually had a degree in American history, which is a fabulous training ground for running a food service and vending company where we fed people at factories at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nah, it really isn't. But at any rate, we did this, and that's how I got started on that. So, a lot of times people stand up here in front of us and they give these presentations, you think they're perfect. I'm not. I hope that after we get done today, you'll not make a few of the mistakes that I managed to make. So that's what we're going to try to do.